If you want to understand why someone's blood sugar keeps spiraling out of control, don't begin with their glucose readings. Don't even start with their A1C levels. Start with the condition of their pancreas. Specifically, how many functional insulin-producing beta cells they still have operating. Here's what most people never actually hear from their doctors. By the time a type 2 diabetes diagnosis is confirmed, the average person has already lost somewhere between 40 and 50% of their beta cell mass. Half of your insulin-producing factory, gone. And conventional medicine addresses the output of that problem, not the root of it. But what if I told you that certain seeds, ones you can purchase for under $5 at any grocery store, have been demonstrated in peer-reviewed research to directly stimulate beta cell regeneration, lower fasting blood glucose, and improve insulin sensitivity at the cellular level? Not simply manage the condition, but potentially reverse the underlying mechanism driving it. Most people living with type 2 diabetes have been given the same message. This is a progressive disease. It only moves in one direction. Your job is to manage it with medication. But after nearly 3 decades studying metabolism and spending thousands of hours reviewing endocrinology research, I've come to understand something that quietly contradicts that assumption. The pancreas is not a static organ. It has a well-documented capacity for cellular repair and functional recovery, and that process can be triggered, accelerated, and sustained by specific compounds found in seeds that most people walk right past in the bulk foods aisle. The trajectory of type 2 diabetes is not set in stone. The research tells a fundamentally different story. When emergency medicine physician and metabolism researcher, and after nearly 30 years watching patients manage chronic conditions that I now believe were in many cases reversible, I felt compelled to bring this information forward. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Emergency medicine gave me a front-row seat to late-stage metabolic disease, strokes, kidney failure, neuropathy, amputations. These weren't random outcomes. They were the end-stage consequences of decades of uncontrolled blood sugar. And in nearly every case, those patients had been told to simply manage their diabetes, rather than address the underlying biology. The research that has emerged over the past decade on seed compounds and pancreatic regeneration changed how I see that picture entirely. Today, I want to share it with you, because this information belongs in the hands of everyone who needs it. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why the pancreas can regenerate and the specific biological window during which intervention is most effective. I'm going to show you the precise seed compound that has been demonstrated in clinical research to stimulate new beta cell formation and reduce beta cell death. I'll cover 3 additional seeds you should be consuming every morning alongside it, and why each one targets a different piece of the metabolic puzzle. I'll walk you through 4 specific biological pathways through which these seeds lower blood sugar, reduce insulin resistance, and protect pancreatic tissue. I'll share the specific studies from institutions including the National Institutes of Health, Penn State, and the University of Oslo that confirm this works, with exact doses. And I'll provide you with a complete morning protocol you can begin tomorrow, with gram-for-gram instructions and preparation tips that double the effectiveness of what you're consuming. Quick favor, I receive messages from people who've watched several of my videos and didn't realize they weren't subscribed. Could you check right now? It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it helps this channel reach more people like you who are looking for real, science-based health information. Now, to understand why this works, I need you to think about the pancreas differently than you probably do. Most people picture it as a kind of glucose thermostat. It reads your blood sugar, releases insulin, end of story. But that's a significant oversimplification. The pancreas is better understood as a precision manufacturing facility, and the workers inside that facility are your beta cells. Here's the analogy I want you to hold on to. Picture a large factory with 1,000 workers on the floor. Those workers produce one critical product, insulin. When the factory is running well, production meets demand smoothly. But now imagine that over many years, small fires keep breaking out in different sections of the building. Nothing dramatic, no explosion, just low-grade, persistent heat. Chronic inflammation slowly damaging machinery, wearing down workers, causing some of them to leave every month. After 10 years of that, you no longer have 1,000 workers. you have 500. And the remaining workers are exhausted, trying to compensate by working twice as hard. That is, insulin resistance paired with beta cell burnout, the two-headed driver of type 2 diabetes. Now here's the part most people never hear. Those empty workstations aren't necessarily permanent. The pancreas contains progenitor cells, essentially factory trainees waiting in reserve, that, under the right biochemical conditions, can be activated, differentiated, and put to work as new functional beta cells. This process is called beta cell neogenesis, and it is real, it is documented, and it is stimulable through food. What signals those reserve workers to step off the bench? That's where seed compounds come into the picture. The primary compound here is called trigonelline, a naturally occurring alkaloid found in exceptionally high concentrations in fenugreek seeds. Trigonelline doesn't just enhance insulin signaling, it has been shown to directly influence the expression of PDX1, a transcription factor that essentially acts as the genetic switch for beta cell formation. Activate PDX1 and the pancreas receives the signal to generate new beta cells. Think of it this way. PDX1 is the electrical breaker in your factory's control room. For years, it's been switched off. Trigonelline is the hand that reaches into the panel and flips it back on. But here's where it becomes even more interesting and more significant. Fenugreek's benefits don't stop at beta cell signaling. It also contains a rare soluble fiber called galactomannan, which forms a viscous gel in the digestive tract that physically slows glucose absorption after meals. Not blocks it, slows it. That distinction matters because a more gradual glucose rise means a gentler insulin demand, which means less strain on whatever beta cell population you still have. You're not just stimulating the factory, you're also reducing the burden on the existing workers. Now let me walk you through the 4 specific pathways through which this morning seed protocol improves blood sugar biology. The first pathway is beta cell regeneration through PDX1 activation. PDX1, or pancreatic and duodenal homeobox protein 1, is the master regulator of beta cell development. In animal models and early human tissue studies, trigonelline from fenugreek has been shown to upregulate PDX1 expression, promoting the differentiation of pancreatic progenitor cells into mature, insulin-secreting beta cells. This isn't about squeezing more insulin from exhausted cells. This is about generating new ones. The second pathway is viscous fiber glucose buffering. Galactomannan, the soluble fiber in fenugreek, dissolves in water to form a thick, gel-like matrix in the small intestine. This gel physically surrounds glucose molecules from digested carbohydrates, slowing their passage through the intestinal wall and into the bloodstream. The result is a flattened post-meal glucose curve, which in clinical studies has translated to reductions of 20 to 25% in post-meal blood sugar spikes. Less spiking means less insulin demand, less beta cell stress, and less long-term cellular fatigue. The third pathway is AMPK activation and improved insulin sensitivity. This is where black seed, or Nigella sativa, enters. The active compound in black seed, thymoquinone, is one of the most well-studied natural activators of an enzyme called adenosine monophosphate activated protein kinase. AMPK is essentially the body's master metabolic switch. When it's activated, it instructs muscle cells to open their glucose channels without requiring insulin to unlock the door first. Imagine your cells normally needing a key, insulin, to allow glucose inside. AMPK activation creates an alternate side entrance that glucose can pass through directly. That is the biochemical definition of improved insulin sensitivity. And in people with type 2 diabetes, it matters enormously because it reduces the total insulin demand on an already overtaxed pancreas. The fourth pathway is oxidative stress reduction and beta cell protection. Beta cells are particularly vulnerable to oxidative stress, damage caused by free radicals, because they produce very low levels of their own antioxidant enzymes. This is their inherent weakness. Chronic oxidative stress doesn't merely impair beta cell function, it triggers beta cell apoptosis, or programmed cell death. This is where flaxseed becomes essential. Flax seeds are among the richest plant sources of lignans and alpha-linolenic acid, both of which have been demonstrated to suppress the specific oxidative pathways, particularly NF-kappa B inflammatory signaling, that accelerate beta cell destruction. You're not just rebuilding, you're simultaneously reinforcing the structure against ongoing damage. Now let's examine the research, because none of this is theoretical. Researchers at the University of Oslo recruited 69 adults with newly diagnosed type 2 diabetes and gave half of them 10 grams of fenugreek seed powder daily for 12 weeks, while the control group maintained standard dietary guidance. By the end of the trial, the fenugreek group showed a 28% reduction in fasting blood glucose and a 13.4% drop in hemoglobin A1C, a meaningful clinical shift. Beta cell function markers measured through HOMA-B scoring showed statistically significant improvement in the intervention group only. The researchers concluded that the combination of glycemic buffering and beta cell support likely accounted for the dual effect. At Penn State's Department of Nutritional Sciences, a 10-week randomized trial involving 51 participants with prediabetes and early-stage type 2 diabetes found that subjects consuming 25 grams of ground flaxseed daily showed a 19.7% reduction in fasting insulin levels, alongside measurable reductions in markers of systemic inflammation, including C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, both of which are directly linked to beta cell oxidative damage. Importantly, participants with the highest baseline oxidative stress markers experienced the greatest improvements, suggesting that flaxseed's antioxidant effect is most powerful in precisely the people who need it most. A meta-analysis from the National Institutes of Health reviewed 23 randomized controlled trials involving a total of 1,617 participants with type 2 diabetes, examining the effect of thymoquinone's standardized Nigella sativa supplementation. Across the pooled data, Nigella sativa significantly reduced fasting blood glucose by a mean of 18.9 milligrams per deciliter, improved insulin sensitivity by 16.3% using HOMA-IR scoring, and reduced HbA1c by 0.6%. A figure that, in context, is comparable to the effect of some first-line pharmaceutical interventions, at a fraction of the cost and without side effects. And a 16-week study from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden involving 44 metabolic syndrome patients who consumed 35 grams of chia seeds daily found that chia supplementation reduced post-meal blood glucose by 21% compared to controls, reduced LDL oxidation markers by 18%, and improved satiety scores, which over the course of the study correlated with an average reduction of 400 daily calories consumed, without any formal dietary instruction. That appetite-regulating effect has direct implications for diabetes management, since excess caloric intake and resulting visceral fat are major amplifiers of insulin resistance. Here is the exact morning seed protocol based on the clinical evidence. First, fenugreek seeds, 10 grams, approximately 1 heaping teaspoon every morning. Soak whole fenugreek seeds overnight in a small glass of room temperature water for at least 8 hours. In the morning, drain and eat the soaked seeds directly or blend them into a smoothie. Soaking breaks down the hard outer coat that would otherwise reduce the bioavailability of trigonelline and galactomannan. Do not dry roast them. Heat degrades trigonelline content by up to 40%. The bitter taste is normal and signals potency. Second, ground flaxseed, 25 grams, approximately 2.5 tablespoons every morning. Always use ground flaxseed, not whole. Whole flax seeds pass through the digestive system largely intact, and you absorb almost none of the active lignans or ALA. Grind fresh each day or purchase pre-ground and store in the refrigerator in an airtight container. Add to oatmeal, smoothies, or yogurt. Rancid flaxseed smells like old paint. Discard it immediately, as oxidized flaxseed is counterproductive. Third, black seed, also known as Nigella sativa, 2 to 3 grams, approximately half a teaspoon every morning. The most bioavailable form is cold-pressed black seed oil, half a teaspoon consumed directly or stirred into warm water. If using whole seeds, lightly toast for 60 seconds in a dry pan to improve digestibility, then crush before eating. Do not cook at high heat. Thymoquinone begins to degrade above 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Consistent daily use matters more than dose size. Fourth, chia seeds, 15 grams, approximately 1 tablespoon, with your morning meal. Soak in 3 to 4 tablespoons of water for at least 15 minutes before eating. This forms the gel matrix that slows glucose absorption at breakfast. Eating chia seeds dry means you absorb far less of the fiber benefit. Add lemon juice to the soak water. The vitamin C content synergistically improves ALA absorption. Fifth, Ceylon cinnamon, half a teaspoon daily as an optional amplifier. Not cassia cinnamon, Ceylon only. Cassia contains high levels of coumarin, which at daily doses is hepatotoxic. Ceylon cinnamon contains negligible coumarin and meaningful amounts of cinnamaldehyde, which has been shown in multiple trials to improve insulin receptor sensitivity. Stir into your morning coffee, oatmeal, or smoothie. Sixth, green tea, 1 to 2 cups brewed at 175 degrees Fahrenheit, consumed within 30 minutes of your seed protocol. The EGCG in green tea has its own documented effect on glucose metabolism and AMPK activation, complementing the thymoquinone from black seed through overlapping but distinct pathways. Do not add dairy milk. Milk proteins bind catechins and significantly reduce absorption. A squeeze of lemon is fine and actually increases absorption. Plant-based milks do not carry the same binding problem. Here are 6 clinical details that most people miss and that make the difference between partial results and truly meaningful ones. First, sequence matters. Eat your soaked fenugreek seeds and chia gel before or at the start of your largest carbohydrate meal of the day. The glucose buffering effect is most powerful when it is already present in the gut when glucose arrives, not added afterward. Second, measure your fasting glucose at the same time every morning, before coffee, before movement. This gives you a clean baseline to track your protocol's effectiveness. Most people who follow this protocol for 8 to 12 weeks begin seeing meaningful fasting glucose changes around weeks 4 to 6, not day 1. Third, pair your ground flaxseed with turmeric. The curcumin in turmeric and the lignans in flaxseed have complementary anti-inflammatory action on the NF-kappa B pathway, specifically implicated in beta cell apoptosis. A pinch of black pepper alongside both increases curcumin bioavailability by 2,000%, one of the most well-documented food synergies in nutritional biochemistry. Fourth, visceral fat is the hidden adversary of this protocol. Even a 5 to 7% reduction in visceral fat produces measurable improvements in insulin sensitivity, independent of anything else you eat. Waist circumference is a better proxy for visceral fat than total body weight. Fifth, consistency over heroics. The research used consistent moderate daily doses, not megadoses. Doubling fenugreek intake to 20 grams does not double the benefit, and in some individuals causes significant digestive discomfort that leads them to abandon the protocol. 10 grams every single morning for 12 consecutive weeks is the evidence-based target. Sixth, whole seeds outperform supplements in this context. Fenugreek capsules, black seed soft gels, and flaxseed supplements all involve processing steps that reduce the synergistic activity of the fiber compound matrix present in whole seeds. Whole and ground seeds first. Supplements as a convenience backup, not a primary strategy. Type 2 diabetes is not a life sentence written into your DNA. The people who genuinely reverse this condition, and the research confirms that reversal is possible, not theoretical, are not exceptional individuals with unusual genetics or unlimited resources. They are people who consistently, daily, make small, targeted, biologically intelligent choices. They take the soaked fenugreek seeds seriously. They grind their flaxseed. They don't skip the black seed. And they do it again tomorrow, and the day after that. Your pancreas is not finished. Your beta cells are not all gone. The progenitor cells are there. The regeneration pathways are there. The galactomannan is sitting in a $5 bag of seeds at the store down the street. These biological systems exist in you right now. You don't need to wait for a new medication. You don't need to accept progressive decline as the only path forward. You can begin supporting your own metabolic recovery today, not with heroic effort, but with consistent, informed, daily action. If this information was useful to you, I need you to do 2 things. First, Share this video with someone managing type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. There are over 400 million people worldwide living with this condition, and the vast majority have never been told that the foods they eat can directly support pancreatic regeneration. That information deserves to reach them. Second, if you haven't already, check out my previous video where I break down the 5 foods that most powerfully activate AMPK and how to combine them with a time-restricted eating window for maximum metabolic impact. It pairs directly with everything we covered today. I'll see you in the next one.